Right, so one thing we get asked quite a lot is advice and tips on self-builds and building a practical camper. So we thought we'd use this van here to kind of show you some ideas on how you can build the ultimate in practical camper and on a budget. So not necessarily what everybody would want if it was their ideal camper or they wanted something really fancy and really flash. So this is how you can save yourself a few quid, still build yourself a really nice usable practical camper with some bits that are essential, some bits that are less essential, but just make it a really usable vehicle. So let's just take you for a spin around this van and just show you some things that I think is important when you're buying a camper, and possibly some things that you don't necessarily need to spend the money on. So what we've started with here is a short wheelbase T6 start line. So it's got the commercial bumpers. A lot of people don't like the commercial look, and I kind of get it. It looks a little bit more like a van, but advantages to the commercial look is you kind of have to be less protective over it. I previously had my last T6 actually was a chrome yellow, really bling, really fancy highline model, and I was super paranoid about taking it anywhere. I was worried about people knocking it. I'd had the bumper damaged in a car park before, and it kind of I just never used to drive the thing. I was paranoid, really. So the commercial look is just a lot more usable. It's just a lot more, you know, you're not worried about parking anywhere. If somebody knocks your plastic bumper, it pops back out again. You just don't need to be overprotective about them. You can build these things, spend an absolute fortune on them, and they just become too much, too precious, and then they don't get used. And that's what we build them for at the end of the day. They're practical, usable vehicles. So the other beauty with having the commercial bumpers is you don't have to worry about people clambering in and out the back. The amount of times we see campers with colour-coded bumpers and all the rear bumpers scratched where people are loading stuff in and out, or children or dogs are jumping on there and the bumpers get scratched. You can get bumper protectors obviously, but with a commercial bumper you don't have that concern. That's why we've gone with this start line. So another thing people look for, everybody has this dream or this vision that they rock up at an English campsite, starts raining, they pop the tailgate and they have a barbecue underneath the tailgate. So that's why tailgate vans are more popular, and yes, they probably look better, but you will pay a premium for them. When you're trying to buy a tailgate van, you can pay £1,000, £2,000 more just for a vehicle that's got a tailgate over one that's got barn doors. Don't be put off by buying a vehicle with barn doors. They're actually more practical in a lot of ways, because you can open one door, access your stuff, store stuff around the back there. You might not have a cupboard under the bed, but you know, with a tailgate, you open up the tailgate and you've got a load of all your camping stuff crammed in there. It just all comes falling out the back. Okay, so why do we see so many barn door vehicles in this country? Quite simply because these vehicles all start their life as a commercial vehicle. When companies are ordering the vehicles from the factory, they'll put barn doors in over tailgate, because you can put a pallet in a barn door vehicle and you can drive a forklift up to it, which you can't do with a tailgate. Yes, they might not look as pretty, but actually for a lot of people it's a lot more practical to have barn doors over a tailgate. So next up, let's talk height. A standard camper van with a pop top on is just the other side of 2 meters, and for some people, or we've been asked quite a few times about lowering them for the reason that they want to be able to get them in their garage, or they work their staff car park has a 2 meter barrier and they can't get their vehicle in when it's got a pop top on. So that's one of the good reasons why you would lower a vehicle. So this vehicle here has been lowered. This is on ST coilovers, but there's lots of options of coilovers. So one, lowering your vehicle is going to improve your ride and your handling. It's going to reduce your body roll, but importantly, using the right lowering, it means you can level the vehicle. So you can see from this vehicle sits level front to rear. So adjustable coilovers or adjustable spring sets allow you to level the vehicle up so it doesn't sit with the tail end down. You're putting so much weight in the back of a vehicle when you turn it into a camper that campers will always sit low at the back because of the weight. Your cupboard, your bed, your roof, all the bits that are in there, it sits low at the back. That's not going to that's going to affect your handling. It's not going to drive as nice. The vehicle's going to sit pitched. You know, you've got all that weight in the back, it's lifting the front end up. So levering your vehicle is a really important way of getting the right ride. It reduces the fact that the vehicle will be a lot more bouncy and a lot harsher in the back. Your passengers will find it hard if you've just got like either a standard suspension or a cheap lowering spring, or even a lowering spring that's not adjustable. As a bare minimum, you want adjustable lowering springs so you can use the adjuster to wind them back up again. We've got a video all about that on its own. Or a decent set of coilovers, so it allows you to lower the vehicle and also set the height so it sits nice and level. So this vehicle now, with the pop top down obviously, sits just under 2 meters. It's lowered a bit, it's not lowered that it's unusable, but it can now go into barriers, it can now go and be parked in garages. It's a practical usable height, but the vehicle's not dragging on the floor. Right, so next up, let's talk wheel and tyres. So first of all, this website you'll find really useful. It's called willtheyfit.com. So in this website here, we'll show you now, you can enter the size of the wheel and tyres that came on your vehicle as standard. So if you've got a standard VW Davenport, put the dimensions in here and then look at the size of the wheel and tyre package that you're buying, and that will show you how much your speedo will be out by and how much it will be out by a certain speed. So on this particular vehicle here, based on the fact this video is about making a budget vehicle that's super practical, we've gone for an all-terrain wheel and all-terrain tyre, and we've gone with the size that would be the same as a standard Davenport. So you're not going to worry about any speedo calibrations, not going to worry about your speedo being out. It's pretty much, give or take 0.5%, the same as a Davenport wheel would be on a genuine VW out the factory, a genuine Transporter out the factory. So we've gone with the Fuel Zephyr wheels, which is a 17-inch wheel by 8.5. We've gone with the Cooper ATT tyre, which is a 225/60 17, and they're 103 load rated, so they're also T32 load rated. So this tyre here has pretty much the same rolling radius as a Davenport wheel, so your speedo won't be out, it'll be as it should do. You're not going to have to worry about your speedo reading wrong when you're going down the motorway and going too fast or going too slow. So we gone with this combination because we're talking practicality here. So the truth is, in the UK we don't have the greatest weather. When you're driving across a damp campsite or a muddy field like we've got here, having a bit of grip won't hurt at all. Actually, the all-terrain wheel and tyres sort of lend themselves really well. They really suit the commercial bumper look, so that's what we thought we'd go with here. Makes it really practical, gives you that bit of extra grip. You get so much comfort from your tyre. So if you're running a 20-inch wheel with a tiny tyre and people complain about the suspension being stiff, actually it's the tyre, it's the small tyre that's making it stiff. This combination here, super comfortable, really practical, really good for going over those campsites. Yes, this isn't a swamper, this isn't the raised off-road look, but actually this wheel and tyre package is really practical and suited to what we do in this country, how we use a vehicle driving across campsites. So from there, let's talk headlights. So it's common knowledge that the T6 comes with a really terrible headlight. Your factory headlights have a terrible output, almost dangerous, some people say. So in this particular vehicle we've put our headlights in, we've put the version 2 headlights in this one. Not going too fancy, don't want to throw loads of money at it. Again, we're all about making a budget vehicle, so we've gone with a version 2 headlight, but this gives us the ability to put our H7 LED bulbs in, and that's where you get the brightness from. So you've got the DRL, but importantly it allows you to have this H7 LED bulb in here that runs through the projector, which is going to give you so much better output. As much as people would say headlights probably aren't an essential budget improvement, in this case actually the headlights are so bad on the T6 that it's well worth doing. It's an extra expense, but it will make a huge difference. Right, so let's talk windows. So a lot of you all know that as much as being Transporter HQ, we are also Camper Glass, one in the same company, so we supply a lot of glass to conversion companies throughout the country. Probably worth saying here, we don't do conversions, we don't do customers work, and that's partly down to the fact that we supply so many conversion companies, and we spend a lot of the time developing new parts. But it's probably the most popular combination we'll sell to a conversion company is the same as this one. So fixed windows on one side, barn door or tailgate windows. On the rear quarter here, people tend to go for a blackout, and the reason why they have a blackout window here is so you still have the window look all the way along, but as we'll show you in a minute, there's a cupboard on the other side of that. But then importantly, the sliding window on the driver's side. So it's nice to have sliding windows on both sides, but if we're about budget and we're about trying to keep costs down, there's a bare minimum sliding window on the driver's side, because that's where your hob is. So these windows come this way, opening front to back or back to front, and that's very much about where you have your hob. If you have your hob, so the sinks, they come with a sink on either side or a hob on one side. So if you have your gas this side, then you tend to have your window there. If you have your gas rings this side, then you tend to have your window there. So there's options for both. Right, so moving inside, something that's really important for me always, and that is air conditioning. So again, you'll pay a premium for it. Finding the same equivalent van with or without air conditioning, you can potentially pay a couple of £1,000 more for a van, but that AC button there, you'll find it really important, especially if you're going abroad. I know a lot of people will just say, well, open your window, but summers are getting hotter in this country. If you're traveling abroad, it really does help to have that air conditioning. I personally wouldn't drive a vehicle across Europe that didn't have air conditioning. I've got 4 kids. It's a challenge to be in a vehicle with them, let alone when they're all screaming and really hot. So yeah, air conditioning is a must for me personally. If you're not that bothered, you will be able to pick yourself up a lot cheaper panel van. You can, like I said, potentially save a couple of grand just by buying a vehicle without air conditioning. You can actually get it retrofitted. There's a company down in London that do it for a couple of grand. Okay, so we still want our vehicle to look nice as well as be practical. So the standard seat pattern is fine that come in the T6. Titanium Samora is probably the most common one that you see on them. That's the pattern, and you can just get your bed trimmed to match that in the rear when you come to the bed section. But another option is seats, seat covers. So there's lots of different options with seat covers. A lot of people would pay to have the seats professionally trimmed. You'll kind of pay somewhere around the 800-900 quid to have a set of front seats trimmed. This is just an option. These are seat covers that we do that are 165 quid a set. They fit really nicely, they look like they're trimmed when they're on. You can buy the GT, so this is like a GT style fabric. It comes in various different colours: red, green, orange, blue, yellow. And you can buy that fabric on its own if you wanted to match it up with your bed in the back. So moving into the back, so you'll see here these seats have been made in the matching fabric. So just talking about the seats and the bed, so there's lots of different rock and roll bed options on the market. This is kind of the most common setup, this L-shaped cupboard setup that you'll see in a camper. So the rock and roll bed, loads of different ones out there. We're a big fan of the Rusty Lee bed. One, value for money, but two, quality of build, and also it's M1 and TUV approved. So not all of them out there. A lot of them are M1 bench tested, some of them are M1 in vehicle tested, but Rusty Lee have gone to the effort to have theirs TUV approved. So we're big fans of them. We like the way they work. You pull the latch here to slide open. It's on gas runners for it to go back up again. So that's your bed frame, and then it's your cushions. You get your cushions made to match. So most trimmers will make these for you. You just give them what you need. A lot of them, so we use Hadley trimming. They have the pattern on file. It's about 700 quid to have a full set of cushions made with them supplying the fabric, but you can get the colours to match whatever you go for. If you went for the fronts, if they're trimmed, or if you've got seat covers. Sorry, another good thing about the seat covers is extra storage in the back there. Right, so interior wise, kitchen wise, quite a lot of companies out there pretty much make your IKEA style, click and buy your cupboards and you build it yourself. So this vehicle here is a classic example of kitchens from a company called Evo Designs. Lots of different options. You just log on, you pick your layout you want, where you think you can have your cooker and your hob and your fridge and so on, and there's lots of different options. You can pick your own finish and whether you want cupboards under the bed and extra storage. So Evo Designs, or Evo Motion Designs, great company to get that kind of thing from. There's other companies out there that do it, and you can pretty much build it yourself however you want to do it on their website. In this particular vehicle, very standard setup: 2-ring gas hob, sink there, and as I mentioned before, opening window to go where you have your gas hob. That's probably the most common way to set them up. So diesel heater, I think this is essential really in this weather if you want to use your vehicle more than just the summer. So this is the Autoterm plain R diesel heaters. They're just good value for money. There's lots of manufacturers out there. The Webasto make really good ones, Eberspatcher make really good ones, and the Planner kind of comes in as the lower end of the range, lower end manufacturer, but it's a Russian brand. If it's good enough for the Russians and their climate, it's good enough for us. But definitely worth considering if you're looking for a cheaper version of a diesel heater. So you can use the vehicle all year round, really. Right, practicality and usability wise, so swivel seat bases. This has a Rusty Lee double swivel seat base. It allows you to spin that seat round, so you've got the usable space to be able to face the rear, clip a table on, and actually use it as an eating area as well as a relaxing area. We like the Rusty Lee bases because of the simplicity of how they work. You undo these bolts, they pop up, and the seat spins nicely. There's a bit of a knack to all of this swivel seats and how they spin, but the Rusty Lee one spins the nicest that we've experienced. Right, so pop tops. If there's more than two of you going away, or if there is just two of you but you want the extra room, pop tops really kind of make it a camper as opposed to just a day van. So this particular roof is from a company called Westubs, probably one of the best value roofs on the market. It's really good quality, it's M1 crash tested, and they offer good service. They almost offer like a drive-in, drive-out service with a fit-in, or lots of conversion companies use them as well. Big fan of them. There's Skyline, or another company that do a really good quality roof. Theirs is slightly more, but theirs is also TUV approved. Sell them to Germany and their standards are really strict. So again, another really good quality company, very similarly priced in their roofs. If I just show you inside. So with having a pop-up roof, you can fold the bed up and out of the way. It just gives you so much more space. There's additional extras you can get from most of the pop-top roof manufacturers now. This particular one has a scenic canvas, so you can undo the zip that's on the bottom here and fold the canvas up out of the way. Lets air in, gives you a nice view of what's going on, and nice for the children to sit there in the hot weather in the bed with the canvas open. So one of the hardest things about your build would be planning out storage. When you've got 2, 3, 4 people and a dog in a vehicle like this, the one thing that you want to get the absolute most from is your storage. So you want to utilize every single space you possibly can. So underbed storage, plenty of cupboard storage space, overbed storage. overbed lockers or even just overbed shelves. I personally find shelves more practical, because with if they've got a door front on them, you're trying to reach behind them or trying to get stuff in, whereas if you've got a shelf you can kind of put more stuff on. But however you decide to lay it out, storage is kind of key when there's any amount you're traveling in such a small space. That's another reason why in this case underslung LPG is a really good option. So you'll see it's more and more common. You find places that will fit that element for you. If you're not comfortable doing it yourself, you need to get it signed off, obviously, because you're dealing with gas here. But underslung LPG is a really good option to utilise as much storage space as you can inside. So if you're having gas, you have to have a gas locker. That can take up a big amount of the storage spaces, obviously, all the routing of it and stuff. But if you've got underslung LPG, that tank's underneath the vehicle. And it's easy enough to fill up, and it's cheaper. Long run, yes, you're investing the money now in having the underslung LPG put in, but you can get LPG obviously from your regular car garages. Certainly across Europe as well, it's a lot more common, a lot easier to get, and it's cheaper, and you can hold more, so you're not kind of going to the campsites all the time and trying to find the right gas connection that you have on the end of your regulator for your bottle. But it's normally filled underneath here, so pop that connector off and that's where you fill your LPG. And the beauty with that as well is you can have we've not done it on this particular vehicle, but you can have external barbecue points. It's nice to have be able to have a barbecue outside the vehicle and not have to carry additional gas for that, or use the coal. You can just plug into an external barbecue point for your LPG. So electric wise, most things we take away with us now, iPads, phones, tablets, are all charged by 12 volts. So there's many 12 volt sockets you can get throughout the van, really, you know, somewhere that you can access them. It's nice to put them in the panels for children to use when they're charging. I think these are nice little LED lights for the pop top, but they've also got USB charging points in them. You kind of can't really get enough USB charging points. You're a lot less likely to use your sort of 240 volt plug sockets nowadays, because most things you can get a 12 volt version of anyway, you know, even if it's pumping up a Lilo or however, an airbed or something. One thing that is worth considering is having an additional charger. Mains hookup is always available on most campsites, but being able to charge your leisure battery off a 240 system is important. If you're going to be sitting in the campsite for a long time, it's well worth adding an additional charging point. Right, so carpeting and finishing. Insulating your van is really important, makes a big difference. The Dodo range is really good stuff, really good quality, sensibly priced, but pack your vehicle for as much insulation as you possibly can. Carpet wise, get good quality 4-way stretch carpet. It makes a big difference to the job. Darker carpets are so much more forgiving, obviously for dirt and grime, but also when you come to stretching it around the panels, if you go for a light colour, you can kind of see the shadows if it's not quite adhered or bonded to the panels as well. So yeah, go for darker colours if you're happy with the colour, but it's just a lot more forgiving all round. But decent, good quality 4-way stretch carpet over some of the cheaper stuff you can get is well worth investing in. Floor carpet again, so this is a hard-wearing office floor carpet. It's not everybody's cup of tea. A lot of people like to go for Outro, like the wipe clean stuff. The downside I feel with that is it scratches really easy, the Outro, and stuff slides around on it, so you're potentially going to be loading this bit up while you're traveling with stuff, and there's nothing worse than it sliding backwards and forwards while you're driving, and also it scratches really easy. So this is a really hard wearing office floor carpet. You can get this from lots of places. It's hard wearing office carpets, which used to have in heavy traffic. You can sweep it, you can hoover it. It's just another option to going for that kind of standard generic Outro flooring that everybody goes for. Curtains, lots of options on the market nowadays. You've got from the real high-end extremes to van shades, which are a great product. I've had them in previously in my vans and really like them. Or you've just got your simple curtain system on rails, nice thick curtains to black out the light. But yeah, relatively inexpensive, sort of 25 quid a curtain if you want to go that way, and if you want to go all out and go high end, then there's no better solution than van shades. Window pods that are well worth considering if you want to spend that bit more. Right, so plastics and finishing. So you'll see this vehicle here actually has these pre-made panels. If you're not comfortable with carpet lining, you can buy these pre-made panels that are nice to go on, just give it a nice finish, and obviously they're nice and wipe clean. We particularly like the hidden panel clip look here, something that we sell quite a lot of to the conversion companies, but it's a clip that goes on the other side of these panels or your carpet line panels, so you can't see all the individual panel clips. It's just a nicer finish, but they sit the other side of here, they kind of twist it and you push them on, it just looks neater. But even if you're making your own panels, same idea, you use the hidden panel clip, clip it in nice and neat, and it just finishes it off nicely. Other little things that are nice to finish off the van is things like the threshold strips here. So normally a commercial vehicle comes with like a smaller threshold strip that kind of only covers that space from there to there. This is an aftermarket version. VW do a genuine version of this longer threshold strip. They're quite a lot more expensive for the genuine one, but they're also slightly shorter. The beauty with the aftermarket one is you can get these little matching caps, which are a lot cheaper than buying the genuine ones, but also they're slightly longer, so they lift up at the corners so you can't see the join between your two finishes of carpet just there, and they're relatively inexpensive. So hopefully that video was useful. I'm not saying there's a right way or a wrong way to do anything. Hopefully that's just some tips that you might find useful when you come to planning your own build. I will try and put a link to as many things that I've mentioned below, whether they're from us or from other manufacturers or other companies. We'll post the links below to help you with your builds. More videos come in. We're going to do a feature next week, hopefully, a bit more on these wheels and also the suspension setup on this vehicle. As always, thanks for watching. Please hit the like button if you've enjoyed it. Share it with anybody you think that might be interested if they're planning their own build or want some tips and advice along the way. Any questions, please post them in the comments below, or anything you want to know, anything you think we've possibly missed. More videos coming next week. We've got a video coming a bit more specific on the fuel zephyr wheels and also the ST suspension that went on this. So please subscribe to the channel, click the little bell to get notifications when we get a new video coming. We're trying to release at least a video a week that we think would be useful for you, and as always, thanks for watching.